Hi guys, welcome back. I'm Geoff, and as the brand new sign says, this is Pride Parkway. Another week has passed, and with everything that's going on, I've been able to get loads of work done here on the layout. If it's your first time here, this is my N-gauge loft layout. It's a pretty big loft, 5 metres by 2.5 metres, so nice and big. I've had lots of new subscribers recently, and welcome on the journey. Hopefully I won't disappoint, but basically all I'm doing is just documenting me building this layout. Hopefully people will be inspired by it, have some opinions on it, and let me know of any suggestions and ideas that you have along the way. In this video I am turning my attention to the track work through this town scene that you can see behind me, and as part of that I've been getting all the infrastructure in around the track work. So that's the relay boxes, the cable trunking, the buffer stops, all that kind of stuff. So follow me on this video. I hope you enjoy it. As I say, do let me know if you've got any comments. Pop them down below, any ideas, any suggestions. Again, pop them all down below. I do read them all and I do try my best to reply to them all as well. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button, that way you won't miss out on the next installment of the work here in the loft. The next video, I'm hoping it's going to be out pretty soon. I'm recording this intro and everything you're about to see is already done, so the next video I'll be starting work on straight away, and that's going to be ballasting and weathering the tracks as well. Trying to keep the videos down to about 20 minutes, so without further ado, let's hand over to myself. A couple of weeks back, actually it was a week back, when I started work up here on all of the track detailing. I will speak to you all soon. Thanks, bye bye. Okay, so today's the day we are going to start detailing the track through the station and through the TMD area, which is basically the entire town scene of the layout. And to do that, I'm going to be using both some off-the-shelf products, and I also need to get a little bit creative because this is, after all, N-gauge, and you can't, unfortunately, always buy everything you want. So, first things first. Round my points, I am going to, well, not just round the points, around the track, I am going to need some cable trunking pretty much everywhere on the railways, and the product that I have decided to use is this Ratio N-gauge 258 concrete trunking. Comes in a pack. It's got both straight bits in it and also the joints. It's already painted a concrete colour, but I'm going to be hitting that up with some grey primer and then some more grey paint. The thing that I like about this is that because it's plastic, you can bend it, and I've got some quite sharpish corners in this part of the layout. So here's a piece, hopefully you can see this, that I've lifted out already and I've snapped it there, but if you just gently play with it, a bit gentler than I did at that end, you can bend it round so that it'll go around the corners. Now I also did pick up from N-Scenic a packet of their cable trunking, and also comes with boxes as well, but I'm going to keep that. I'm going to use that in a different part of the layout, so that's getting parked for now, and I'm going to use this Ratio concrete trunking instead. To go with that, of course, I will need relay boxes and cabinets. So again, I am using the Ratio ones because I already had some of these in the house, and I already have some of these made up from my last layout as well, and this is them. They're pretty good for N-gauge as well. They're pretty clear. Let me see if I can get that in focus a little better. But again, quick shot of some grey primer on them, and then I'll rust them up a little bit. The next thing I have got in line with the points is some point motors to get on the layout as well. Then we've got buffer stops. I need 10 buffer stops in this part of the layout. So these are the nice simple Pico SL340 buffer stops. These are really easy to put together. They just come out the pack and just slot together like this. Really simple. I put a little bit of Revel contact adhesive on there just to stop them from dropping apart. The other thing with these is, and the camera's probably not going to pick it up, let me see, just on the top there where my thumb is, there is what is supposed to be a little light, you would paint that red. Now I actually cut that off. I'm going to cut that off with a craft knife. 2-second job to cut that off, so you end up with, instead of what I've just shown you, you end up with this instead. No light on the top, and the reason for that is because I'm going to be using these Gauge Master GM58 N-gauge buffer light, and these are from Train Tech, and these just slot between your tracks and the lights come on. They're really good. I had some of these on my last layout and I bought some more, so that I've got plenty for this layout, so we'll have them. Then we're going to have, going back to the points, I obviously need some cable trunking. Some cables going actually under the tracks, they're orange. I'll put a picture in so you know what I'm talking about. Now, in 00 gauge you can buy this off the shelf, but in N gauge I can't find anybody that sells it. There might be somebody, I just can't find anybody. So what I've decided to do is pick up a pack of this florist wire. I didn't actually pick it up, I already had it in the house. But this is 20 gauge, you get 50 pieces in here for £4.15. I have no idea why I have it for. I also bought it for some project at some point in time. Now this is already, it's a metal wire, but it's wrapped in florist tape. I think you can get this in green as well, but this one's white. So it's kind of insulated, but I don't want to take any risks. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a piece of heat shrink, pop the heat shrink on the wire, heat shrink it to the wire so then it's fully insulated, so that then when I'm sliding it under the track, it doesn't matter if it touches the track. I'll also be painting this, so I'll hit it with some grey primer and then I'll paint it orange as well. I'm sure I've got some Tamiya orange paint in my box of paints, and the good thing is because this is going to be heat shrink in wire, it means I can bend it to shape to get it to go under the tracks, and I can cut it to different lengths and all that kind of good stuff, so I think that should work quite well. A couple of other things that I've got is some scale model scenery products, good old scale model scenery. So we've got some catch pits. These are going to go between the tracks and the platform areas, and also a few in the TMD. Again, this is the N-gauge version. There's 12 in here, LX106N. And just for anybody who's watching this who's not familiar with N-gauge, that's how tiny they are. There's my thumb. They're really, really small. Then we've got some of the older style speed restriction signs. Again, tiny, and they will be mainly dumped in the TMD, but I'll also use the odd one of them on my older tracks, so the 2 branch lines. Then we've got some nice modern line side signage, and if you remember, what I'm trying to model here is I want the 2 branch lines to look older, whereas the 2 main lines that my HSTs and hopefully eventually Class 91s will be running on, I want that to look like it's been recently electrified, modernised, and new track, concrete track, all that kind of good stuff. So got some nice modern stuff there. Not sure if I'm going to use this. This is the modern trackside walkway / grating LX210N. This will probably get used in the TMD, so it probably won't get used yet, but I lifted it out just in case. And then the very last thing I've got here is a bit of good old grey board, because I use it for everything. And what I'm thinking with this is when I build them relay boxes, I might just want to cut some bits of this out to create some concrete for the boxes to stand on. And then the other thing is I've got these from Nscenic, which is their double gantry kit, which is going to be for electrifying the 2 high-speed lines. Now, I'm not going to do this work just yet, but I need to know how big these are so that I can get the cable trunking in the right place. So I'm just going to build one of these, hit it up with some primer just to kind of protect it, and then I'll use this as well. So I'm going to go away, get all my stuff ready, and then I'll come back to you and show you the next steps. So I'll be back shortly. So that is everything being coated with primer. We've got all of the cable trunking at the back, still on the sprue. But that's been done. Buffer stops down here, they've all been glued together and primed. Those 2 wires with the heat shrink on, they're done. Some relay boxes down here, dummy point motors down there, and I've also done 1 gantry as well, just because I want to see what it looked like painted up, but I'll do a whole separate video on my overhead line equipment. But that's all done. And I just use for that the same stuff that I always use, my good old plastic coat super primer. It goes on really well and it's cheap. You see that in lots of my videos. In addition to that, while I was waiting for this to dry, I started working on these catch pits, these little N-gauge catch pits. So they are made as well. Let me just grab a few of them for you to see. I mean, that's how tiny they are. But I've gone for the blue on the top. Let me see if I can get the camera to focus on that for you to see. So the blue on the top, and then I've just left them their natural colour around the outside, and I've just given them a quick spray as well with a little bit of matte varnish, just so that when I'm ballasting and so on around them they don't get ruined. So they've been done, and then the next thing is to start painting all of this down here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do all of my cable trunking using, you're probably sick of the sight of this paint because I use it all the time, but this here is my Deco Crafters acrylic in Amish grey. That's a nice colour as the base for all of the cable trunking. So I'll paint it with that, and then I'll go over it all and give it all a wash with these two Humbrol washes. So I've got the dark grey and also the black wash, so that should make them look nicely and weathered in. The trunking, which is going to go under the tracks. I'm going to try this X6 from Tamiya Orange. We'll see how that works. If it's a bit bright, I'll just mix them up with a tiny drop of grey, dark grey, just to make that a bit darker. But we'll see. It might work in this colour that it is, or I might paint it in this colour and then use some of the wash over it as well. We'll see once we start on that. For the buffer stops, I'm going to do two different versions of this. So in my nice new modern engine shed in the TMD area, I want to do them yellow. Now I'm not sure how prototypical this is. I have seen some yellow, but I can't work out whether they're UK or European. But remember, model is rule number one. This is not a prototypical exhibition layout. This is my layout in the loft, and I fancy having a couple of yellow buffers, so that's what I'm going to have. Humbrol acrylic number 69. The rest of them I'm going to make look a little bit more older and traditional. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to spray them first of all with this Rail Match Sleeper grime, which is like a really nice dark dirty brown colour. I'm not sure how this is going to work, but we'll soon find out. But it's just a tin of paint that I've already got in the house. I can't go out and buy stuff at the minute, so let's give this a go. I picked this up at an exhibition to try and use it on the tracks without having an airbrush, and it went on a little bit too heavy for N-gauge. So it's just been sat by my shelf, so we'll give that a go, and then we'll just pick out the details on that, them buffers once they've been sprayed, with a little bit of Humbrol acrylic, Signal Red 174, and just some Tamiya White X2. I'm not loyal to a paint brand. I buy whatever paint I can get at the time when I need it, so I've got all kinds of brands. But I'm going to get these painted up, and then I will come... Oh, I missed one thing, sorry. I also need to do a little bit of dry brushing on these relay boxes, so I'm going to leave them the grey that they are from the primer, but I'm just going to do a little bit of dry brush rust just around the hinges and the edges and things, just to make them look a little bit more weathered, and then I'll probably put a bit of wash, dark grey or black wash over the top of that as well. So I'm going to disappear, get that done, and then I will come back to you and show you what they look like. Okay, so you join me back a few hours later, and all of the paintwork is complete. Just pop that down so you can see what I've done. So we have got, starting over this side here, we have got all of the cable trunking all painted. It's been painted, primed, painted, and then covered with a Humbrol wash, and I'll probably give it another Humbrol wash once it's in situ on the layout, but I just wanted to get that started. We've got these dummy point motors. They were primed and then just given a wash over them just to grime them up a little bit. These here are just the junctions, the corner bits for the cable trunking. That's had the same treatment. Then we have the buffer stops. So we've got the two yellow ones that I mentioned before. They've been painted and then had a wash over them. Then we've got this other style, which is the old oh, camera's there, wooden style, and again these have been painted, primed, then painted, and I actually used that rail match sleeper grime, and I actually think it's a really good colour. I'm not sure how well it's coming out on the camera, but it's a really good brown colour. And then I've painted the end. Now if you Google buffers, there are so many different styles and colours and so on, so that's what I've gone for. I'm happy with them as they are. Then we've got my cabinet boxes. Let me see if I can get the camera to focus on that. So that is all painted. Apologies for the giant close up of my hand, but we've got a bit of rust on there and it's all been grimed up as well. We've got the catch pits, which I'm going to be using as drains. Camera to focus on them just here, so they're ready to go. And then finally my orange trunking, which is going to go under the tracks. Now this is probably, in fact it definitely is over scale, but I hope when it's in under the track and ballasted around it, I'm pretty sure it's going to look okay, and it's the best I could do in Engage. I couldn't find any off the shelf product, so it's been painted, it's been grimed up, and it's also been given a coat of matte varnish, just some humble matte varnish as well, because it was very shiny after I painted it. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to get this all laid out across the layout, roughly where I want it to be, and then I'll come back to you and show you it before we get it glued down. One other thing that I've also done is I've took a piece of 2mm and 3mm grey board, and I have just hit them up with some paint to give them a bit of a concrete look. The reason for this is some of these boxes, equipment boxes, etc., I'm not going to want them flat down on the baseboard. I'm potentially going to want them as if they're kind of on a concrete slab. So I painted them up and left them overnight to dry, so that I can just cut bits off there as and when I need it. How much of it I'll use I'm not sure, but we'll find out shortly. So I'm going to get all this laid out and then I'll come back to you and show you what it looks like before we get it glued down. So I'll be back in a second. Okay, so we're making some really good progress. I got a little bit carried away and did more than I said I was going to do in the last clip. Things were just going down well, making sense. I just cracked on. But you can see along here at this end of the station, we've got the cable trunking over here coming from Signal. We've got some cabling going under the tracks. It does look a little bit out of scale, but you know, beggars can't be choosers. It's Engage, I've got to do the best I can. Again, cable trunking coming down here onto the concrete slab where we've got some relay boxes, more cable trunking, and then I've got cable trunking over here. Sorry, I'm going to have to move the camera around a bit in this clip. So basically we've got cable trunking disappearing into the tunnel as well. Where you see these pieces of yellow tape, that's going to need painting in a moment, which is my final job. Now if I bring the camera in nice and close so you can see, so that's basically where one of the piano wires from the point motor comes up. So when you install these point motors, you drill a 10, or at least I drill a 10mm hole, which makes it really easy to get the piano wire through into the point. However, afterwards you're left with a big hole, and you can't just ballast that because obviously all the ballast will just fall down the hole. So what I've done is I've used PVA and masking tape to create a nice little seal on there around the point. Now the point will still flip, there's just enough room, so what I do is I move the point blade to this side, or where the hole is, because then I know that's the furthest point it needs to go over. Fill it in with masking tape and PVA so it's nice and solid, and then just test the point motor goes backwards and forwards again. Now when the point's thrown this way, you will end up with a small gap at that side, but that can't be helped, it is what it is. Moving down, so you see we've got the cable trunk in there, get more yellow tape, a tiny bit of ballast there, that's just me playing around, it's not glued down, but these catch pits are in. I was just having a little look to see what it would look like when it's got the ballast around it, because they're blue and the baseboard's like a bluey grey. You couldn't tell very well, but again they run all the way down. Sorry, hopefully this isn't making you feel too dizzy me moving the camera like this, but it's the only way I can show you. So we've got the catch pits, and then once we get to this end of the platforms, again we have more cable trunking and more cables running from the signal box across the tracks. Now the things that you can see here, these these are going to be for my catenary, and I'm going to do a separate video on that. I haven't installed, or I'm not installing any more catenary at this point, but I did need to get them in so that I could get the cable trunking in. So I will do probably video after next, maybe a little bit longer, then we'll get the catenary in. But because it's so fragile and engage, I don't want to put it in until right at the end, otherwise it'll just get broke when I'm reaching over the track. If I just pan out a little bit and move the camera up, there we go, just so you can get an idea of the TMDs. So we've got buffer stops in, the yellow ones at the back there, and then we've got the wooden ones at the front. Again, I'm going to zoom in just so you can see nice and closely. Camera to focus. The only thing I've got left to do here is I was one of these lights short, so I've just got this one to finish. I just ordered some online, but with the way things are at the moment, I'm not sure how long they're going to take to come, but they are ordered. And then again, continuing our way around, if we go over to the rear DMU yard, you can see, again, ignore the yellow tape, I'm going to paint that shortly, but we've got some more cabinets over here and trunking over here as well. We've got another 2 buffer stops down at this end, in the train care facility, and then running right the way down the middle here, again we've got the cable trunking running right the way along, and I have curved it, and I just did that with my fingers. It's plastic, this ratio cable trunking, so you can just really gently just tease it and get it to bend. And then in this front yard, again, you can see there where we've got cable trunking, relay boxes and so on all in there. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to get this painted up, these bits that need touching up, get rid of all the yellow masking tape, and then as always I'll finish this video with a few photographs to show you the completed work. I hope you've enjoyed the video. I am making quite good progress at the moment in light of everything that's going on in the world and me being locked down at home, but if you do have any questions, comments, I do like to hear from you, so please do leave them down below. Thumbs up would always be appreciated, and if it's your first time here, don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Thank you all, and I will see you in the next video when we get some ballasting going on. But thanks for joining me, guys. Take care of yourselves, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye bye.